Welcome, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today, we're turning our attention to the fascinating United States Susan B. Anthony Liberty $1 coin, a piece of American history that may look ordinary at first glance, but can become surprisingly interesting when you know exactly what to look for. From its distinctive portrait of Susan B. Anthony to its unique size, design details, mint marks, and possible varieties, this dollar coin has earned a special place in the world of modern American coin collecting. In this video, we'll take a closer look at what makes these coins collectible, which details can separate an everyday example from a more desirable one, and why collectors continue searching through old collections, coin jars, and inherited change for unusual Susan B. Anthony dollars. So stay with us, because the coin sitting unnoticed in your collection could have a story worth discovering, and sometimes the smallest detail can make the biggest difference. United States Anthony Susan B. $1 coin from 1979 may look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, but this small golden-toned dollar carries a story that changed American coinage forever. Introduced in 1979, the Susan B. Anthony dollar was the first United States circulating coin to feature a real woman as its primary design subject, honoring the pioneering suffragist whose fight for voting rights helped reshape American history. Its compact size, familiar reeded edge, and unmistakable portrait make it instantly recognizable, yet the real mystery begins when you start asking a simple question. Is every 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar really worth only $1? The coin was created during a period when the United States Mint was searching for a smaller dollar that could be more practical for everyday use. The result was dramatically different from the large Eisenhower dollar that came before it. The Susan B. Anthony dollar measured about the size of a modern quarter, making it easier to carry, but also creating an unexpected problem. Many people confused it with a quarter. That unusual size comparison became one of the defining stories of the coin, and millions of these dollars entered circulation before the public gradually lost interest. But among those millions, certain combinations of date, mint mark, condition, and striking characteristics can become much more interesting to collectors. Look closely at the obverse, and you will see Susan B. Anthony facing right, surrounded by the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, with the date positioned below. The portrait was designed by chief engraver Frank Gasparo, while the reverse presents an Apollo 11-inspired eagle landing on the moon, surrounded by 13 stars and the inscriptions United States of America and $1. That reverse is especially important because the design connects this coin not only to Anthony's legacy, but also to the nation's space-age identity. When light moves across the surface, tiny differences in texture, sharpness, and preservation can suddenly become visible, turning an apparently ordinary dollar into something worth examining much more carefully. The year 1979 is particularly fascinating because the Mint produced Susan B. Anthony dollars at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, creating different mint-marked varieties and collector opportunities. Philadelphia examples can carry a P mint mark, Denver examples a D, while San Francisco pieces bear an S, and this is where the story becomes more complicated, because 1979 S dollars are famous among collectors for different proof mint mark styles, including the well-known Type II variety with a clearer, more rounded S. These varieties were not simply random decorations. They reflected changes in the working dies used during production, and today those subtle differences can make one coin far more desirable than another that appears almost identical at first glance. Then comes the question every treasure hunter wants answered. What about errors? A genuine mint error can dramatically change collector interest, but it must be separated from ordinary damage caused after the coin left the mint. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, doubled features, unusual die characteristics, and other legitimate minting anomalies can attract serious attention when they are properly documented. The danger is that scratches, machine doubling, flattened rims, altered surfaces, or postment damage can easily be mistaken for valuable errors. That is why the most exciting discovery is not simply finding something strange. It is finding something strange that survives careful examination and professional verification. Imagine pulling a 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar from an old collection, a forgotten jar, or a family box, and noticing something that seems different. Maybe the lettering appears doubled. Maybe the strike seems unusually strong. Maybe the rim looks abnormal, or the design appears slightly shifted toward the edge. Your heart starts beating faster because this is the moment when an ordinary dollar can begin to feel like a potential discovery. But resist the temptation to clean it, polish it, bend it, or scrape at the surface. A coin's originality can be more important than its shine, and an aggressive attempt to reveal a supposed error can destroy the very evidence that a specialist needs to evaluate it. Now let's climb the value ladder carefully, because dramatic numbers can make a great story, but responsible collecting requires context. As an illustrative storytelling ladder rather than a promise of actual value, imagine a coin with a minor but interesting variation entering a hypothetical market conversation around $2,500 to $3,500. A substantially more notable and authenticated example might inspire a fictionalized $9,000 scenario in our story. A high-grade specimen could be discussed around $5,000, while an unusual mint anomaly might enter an illustrative $6,000 level. These figures are examples for storytelling, not guaranteed prices, and the real market value of any 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar depends heavily on its exact variety, condition, authenticity, demand, and documented sales history. The latter can climb even higher in the imagination. A rare collector piece could be represented by an illustrative $7,500 outcome, while an exceptionally preserved or uncommon example might reach a hypothetical $8,000 level in our narrative. An unusual discovery supported by strong collector demand could be represented around $8,500, and an extraordinary or historically significant example could be imagined at up to $9,000. But remember, the most important words are illustrative and never guaranteed. Real coins do not automatically become valuable because a number appears in a video, and genuine market prices must be supported by comparable sales, professional grading, and careful identification of the exact variety or error. So how do you investigate your own 1979 dollar without fooling yourself? Start with the weight, but do not treat weight alone as proof of rarity. A standard Susan B. Anthony dollar has a specific intended weight and composition, and a meaningful deviation can justify further investigation, especially when the coin otherwise appears authentic. Next, examine the metal color and surface carefully. Normal wear, tunning, environmental exposure, and chemical reactions can change appearance, while plating or alteration can create misleading colors. Then inspect the strike alignment, looking for unusual positioning of the design relative to the rim, and study the rim itself for signs of a genuine minting anomaly rather than damage caused after circulation. The lettering deserves its own investigation. Look closely around the date, Liberty, In God W.E. Trust, United States of America, and $1 for apparent doubling. But remember that not every doubled-looking feature represents a valuable doubled die. Mechanical or strike-related effects can produce shapes that resemble true hub doubling, and digital photographs can exaggerate tiny details. Use strong lighting, magnification, and comparison with a known example from the same issue. If something still looks unusual, document it rather than modifying it. The goal is to preserve evidence, because the difference between an exciting observation and a valuable variety often comes down to precise identification. There is also an emotional reason these coins continue to attract collectors. Susan B. Anthony was not merely a name placed onto metal. She represented a long struggle for women's voting rights and civic participation. Holding the 1979 dollar can feel like holding a tiny historical bridge between 19th century activism and modern American life. That is why a coin can become meaningful even when it is worth only its face value. And if a particularly scarce variety or authentic mint error is discovered, the financial possibility can feel like a sudden windfall, perhaps even resembling a down payment on a home, while the emotional excitement can feel like a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But before imagining that life-changing moment, remember the rule that protects both the coin and the collector. Authenticate first, celebrate later. A reputable professional grading service or experienced numismatist can examine the coin's diagnostics, surfaces, strike, weight, dimensions, and variety attribution far more reliably than a quick online photograph or an exaggerated marketplace listing. Keep the coin uncleaned and safely stored. Record its date and mint mark. Photograph both sides under good lighting and compare it against authoritative references. The strongest discoveries are not built on excitement alone. They are built on evidence that another knowledgeable collector can independently verify. And that leaves one final mystery hanging in the air. How many 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollars are still sitting unnoticed in old collections, inherited jars, drawers, or forgotten boxes, waiting for someone to look at them differently? The next time you see that small dollar with Susan B. Anthony staring back at you, don't dismiss it too quickly. Check the mint mark, study the strike, inspect the rim, examine the lettering, consider the weight, and above all, preserve the coin exactly as you found it. Because sometimes the most surprising treasures are not buried in a vault. They are hiding in plain sight, disguised as ordinary change. And just when you think you've seen every possible coin discovery, the next coin may reveal a shocking detail that changes everything.